I was just doing a meditation, and it's a Krishna meditation. And I don't think Krishna has like snakes around her neck. I think I'm mixing up my ideas of the goddesses, and I think I need to start studying mythology. But I was just doing a meditation that was like, here, let me play some of the music in the background, but it's going to be loud because I turned it up loud. Hold on one second. Let me see. Oh, my phone faded out. I had my Bluetooth hooked up, so when I turn my radio off, I can go boopity boop on the button. And this is really weird. I'm in pretty good here. I was listening to this. All right, there was a lot more than that, but I was listening to that and I was meditating, and it's a Krishna meditation. It's actually called Japa Hare Krishna, and I think I got like I said, I think I have my goddess idols or my whatever the god idols are called mixed up. But either way, in my mind, I was meditating. I told, and it sounds sort of funny, man. Like, I've been trying to just be myself today, and I'm like, I know you'll be here because I've already felt you, and I know that you're always with me. And I feel like there's a little boost in my body, a little boost in my spirit, and a little boost in my mind. Like, I feel brighter, not just look brighter or feel brighter. And it's like my sun energy tapped in more. And it sounds really weird, okay? So, like, God, me, inside of me, he's here and I'm him, and it's weird. Like, he's learning with me. So now, like, that I'm tapped into the frequency, it's a huge deal, but I'm just existing in my human form. I can see everything else if I focus on it, and I'm keeping my vision is clear. And like, sometimes when I get really excited, I see all kinds of crazy stuff in front of me, but it's not in a way where it freaks me out like a hallucination, because I learned it. I learned it, and I can control it now somewhat. I'm not in complete control, because sometimes I don't know what the hell I'm seeing, but usually that doesn't come into my mind unless something triggers it, and it has to trigger it. So I did a meditation, and that meditation that I just found today, I was just listening to it, and I felt like a speck of dust, and I landed on like the crack of, oh, hey, there's 3 deer on the road. Hey, deer. And there was like a crack of dust, or like not a crack, I was dust. There was like a particle of dust, and there was like, I don't know, the scaly skin of a snake head. It was like more like down its neck, like an inch or two, you know what I mean? It's hard to explain. And I was just on it, and then it was moving around on her neck, and she was like dancing. It was like 3 arms, and I saw 3. Actually, no, there's one down on the lap kind of thing. I'm trying to remember the whole thing. It was like dust, and I was on the top of a snake, and then I floated out into the air, out in front, and I saw like a pretty face that almost like the face was like a closed-eye Buddha doll kind of thing, but it was like a female face. And I don't know, I just didn't really, I don't know, I heard a voice, but it was like a voice in my mind, and it was like explaining how humans are also like the energy that runs us is the energy from plants. I already knew that we're pieces of the sun, but it explained a little bit more to me why it's so hard for people to believe that there is an invisible power, that it is what we call God, but it is so powerful, and it's hard for people to believe because, you see a plant grow, and a plant is just the thing that is out there on the ground, it just seems so insignificant. It's a plant. But, there's so many more plants than people, you know what I mean? And if those things can just magically grow from the ground and the sun, it's not as crazy as people make it sound. It's not crazy. I've lived as every plant. I can close my eyes and focus my mind and see what it's like to live as a plant. And it's really boring, but you do see. It's like you don't see. But now that I have been able to see, when I'm there, I can sense what's around me and almost tell what it is without seeing it. Maybe the way that you develop the intuition to see things with your eyes closed is to actually tap into like your plant sense. So you could end up, if you were only a plant, you would only be able to sense. You don't have eyeballs and a brain to develop stuff like that. You know what I mean? So you would only sense as a plant would sense. And, over a period of time, it's going to develop some kind of sense. It's going to turn a certain way. It knows which way the sun is. So it's got to know when certain energies or vibrations go by it or near it. You know what I mean? So, I don't know, the meditation I was doing, and I don't know why I was a particle of dust, because I think, I don't know, in a weird size scale, because just like there was no space and time, there was no size at one time. There was no size. The universe, when it first started, wasn't big, huge, asteroids and galaxies, and the sun wasn't so big. Now that I am picturing it during that meditation, I don't know, it gave me the idea that maybe the sun did get that big really fast because God wanted to see how strong it could be, and his central, his central energy heart, or whatever you could call it, was was sun. The sun itself that we see was God's energy heart in the center of our, what we call the universe, but it just happens to be the center of what we live from. Our big universal body, God is God, what we call God, the sun is the heart. It really is the heart, just like it makes plants grow, and we figured that out a long time ago, that the sun makes plants grow. Freaking the cavemen or Neanderthals knew that plants grew from the sun, so that's why they lived for quite a while. They would grow to be adults because they ended up living off plants because they could grow more. They understood after a period of time, even though they didn't speak and they grunted and stuff like that, they understood that the sun was power. They didn't understand that the sun was the power for them because they didn't quite have anywhere near a developed brain, and no matter how developed someone of their time was, I've been all of them. No matter how developed someone of that time was, or a Neanderthal of that time was, a God in whatever form he was trying to experience through, couldn't feel the earth. No matter, even though they were silent and they didn't have all these distractions, their brain never developed to the point. And then there was the Neanderthal man actually was at a period of time before there was any man or actual human man. And there was a period of time with not one living soul for a period of time. That was that vision in my mind, the way it was to be those things, was just harmonious. Animals got along, and even though they ate each other, it was because they didn't know. And there were still negative vibes. Eating something gives a negative vibe to the thing that's being eaten because it doesn't understand. But there were some insects that did understand that there was power from the sun and how everything worked in their own way. And I can't say they knew how everything worked, but they lived for quite a while. Insects got pretty big, and bugs were way bigger at one point in time. They got smaller for some reason because I think God, the bugs would grow in such big masses that, he probably figured this out. I think I've seen it and I've been it, but I think it was on other planets where, bug planets, I guess. I know it sounds sort of weird, but there's so many planets and galaxies and stars way out there far away. There were experimental planets where there was big bugs and little bugs, and and he would try to get other things, something such as a raccoon, because we call it a raccoon, but it was that kind of rodent-y, half lizard, half rodent type thing. I've seen so many weird concoctions of things in one plane or another. And there's so many imaginary ones that people have imagined that it is sort of hard to tell which animals were, how they looked in what spot, in which plane, because I've seen so many different concoctions in my brain, my Dana Alexander brain, It's all the animals always had a sense that the sun was their power. So during that meditation, I'm sorry I'm going so far, I was trying to give detail, but then I lost, it was so cool. So anyway, it basically told me that the only reason, and this is what I have to try to explain to people, and to the best, I felt it better, that basically what I was saying is that we know that we're from the sun, or we know that the sun gives power, but at the same time, human beings, because we're so sophisticated and we make all these cool things with graphic art and all this kind of things, and we can jump and dive out of airplanes, and we can do all this crazy stuff that other animals couldn't even fathom. Even birds that can fly can't do the stuff that we can do. Of course, they can fly, but they can't jog. They can't, they could jog in a weird way. Well, you know what I'm saying. They can't do the stuff we do. They can't, build schools, and they can't do that. So you just know what I mean. And no other species can do what we can do. But because we're so advanced, we don't really realize that the sun is where we're from. We're from the sun. I know that sounds crazy, but the sun is where we're from. It's so weird. Every speck on every piece of dust. I think at one point the sun was about the size of a piece of dust floating. I keep seeing the scene of, and that's why I want to start my movie with it. It's one of the scenes I've seen the most. It's when a sun is shining through a window without a window. There's no window there. It's just like a little bit of hazy light showing little particles of dust and like one little dot in the center that was like bright and glowing, almost like the sun. But that was a vision that I didn't understand. And I think that's where it started, because God doesn't know size either until he became human. Ain't that weird? I mean, I know, I mean, he knew difference between stuff, but he didn't have the brain in his animal minds and all those other minds to be like, oh, that is bigger than me, or that is smaller than me. It just knew to run, or it knew to attack, or it knew that it didn't have to worry. It had the primal instinct sense. It didn't think bigger, smaller, whatever. It sometimes, like if it got attacked by something almost the same size, or a little bigger, or sometimes way bigger, it knew it just had to defend itself. It's like, I'm not going down without a fight. It's instinctual defense, or else it would hide, or else it would run, or else it would try to blend in with its thing, or it would dive in the mud. I mean, so many different things that things have done, and that I've seen them do, and that I've been them doing it. I know it sounds hard to believe, but we are from the sun, guys. That's crazy. It's really crazy. We are from the sun. I mean, and I don't know, the meditation just gave me such a more solid vibration in that way. So I'm going to start studying some of the, like, I don't know if that's mythology or whatever that is. Like, that's a whole other, there's so many things. I mean, I have to try to pinpoint and get my brain. I mean, there's so much information for me to learn and process that it's going to be hard. I mean, there's so much time, but because now I realize that there's so many things that have gone on, I feel so limited thinking human-wise. And people are like, you got to get here at 1 o'clock. And I'm thinking, like, 1 o'clock? You think I really care? I care. I mean, I do care. I love you. But I mean, you think it really matters that much to get here at 1 o'clock? I mean, I'm a beam of light walking around in skin with the brain that works and all this cool stuff. And we're just like, oh, I got to pay a bill. But we are such a miracle just walking around. We're such a miracle. Whatever made us, you know, God, whatever, that's what we call it. But God, the thing that, there's God talking through me, and God in me, and God all around me. God is me. God is everybody. God is everything. And I know that makes, you know, everyone's heard that, but to hear how it really works, and to know how it really works, to experience how it really works, is awesome. And it's just tuning your brain into the vibration that, I don't know, picks up more of the sun. And the sun talks to you. Maybe not the sun, but that's the first, like, big heart form that the universal body, or the megaversal body that we call God, took. Is like the sun. The energy of the sun was the first way that he started sharing his life and letting things expand and grow and holding things in place with heat and magnetism. Like, the sun is also a magnet. The sun is also, like, you know, everything comes from the sun. So everything comes from the sun and its ideas. The ideas from the sun are what started everything. I know that sounds funny, but how could a sun have an idea? We're people. We don't comprehend those kind of things. We don't comprehend how a tree thinks. It doesn't necessarily think, but it processes, you know, environmental data. Like, the rocks process environmental data, but only at the rate they need to. Like, if water falls on them after a period of time, they lose little tiny particles, and eventually they you know, over centuries and centuries and centuries and millennia, you know, however you want to say it, it doesn't matter, because every possibility is there, and everything has happened so much and so many times over and over in so many patterns and so many different ways. It's holy shit. I mean, it's just a really cool thing. I mean, I already knew that we were from the sun, but, like, not from like that. Like plants are, you put a plant in the ground, or seed in the ground, you know, sun, water, boom. But, like, it's so crazy how, you know, the sun is where it first started and created water somehow. I mean, just not the sun didn't create water, but the universal heart, like, glowing inside this. I don't know. What if the galaxy, God doesn't even know this. What if the galaxy goes so big that God himself is inside a giant body, and we're like the dark parts just moving around? And I mean, I don't know. This is such a crazy thing. I'm trying to figure out where God came from for God. God's trying, like, I've never thought of the idea of where everything came from, and then you actually tap into it, and it doesn't even know where it came from necessarily. Just it knows that it came from nothing but something. And, like, I can't process it in my head. I can't process it in my head. There's no way I can process it, because even with Godhead, God doesn't know. God doesn't know. That's why he's trying to experience. But I at least know where we came from. I at least know where we started, and God knows where he started. So from his point to my point to our point, where we are right now in our human existence that we understand, you know, because we have space and time. It really is just like when you finally get it, you can stand back and watch yourself doing it from outside yourself. Maybe not with your own physical eye, but in a way, your own physical eye. It's friggin' weird, man. I don't know how to explain it. Anyway, all right. I just got all, it really shook up just driving home to my parents' house. I was just going to get here, eat, and go to sleep, but now I got to calm down. So I love you guys, and I will talk to you later. We're from the sun. We run off the energy of the plants, and I know we know that in a little way, but in such a bigger way do we actually depend on the sun. Such a huge way does it play a role in our lives. So I don't know how, but I don't know. Every day when you wake up, bless the sun. Whether you see it or not, say thank you, sun. I mean, just say God, but look at the sun. Thank you, God, for the sun. At least say it like that, something. Or don't even say thank you, God, for the sun. Just say thank you for the sun. You don't have to say a certain word. It doesn't have eardrums. It doesn't care what you call it. It knows what you're feeling. Say thank you for the sun. Just do that. For me. I mean, even just for yourself. Don't do it for me. Do it for yourself, because it will make you feel better. If you start enjoying what is all around you, look at everything all around you. We came from those things just by trial and error and experiments. Like the earth and the grass and the water and the trees are what made us up eventually. I mean, think about it. We still eat them. There's dirt in the grass and there's dirt in the food we eat. Of course, we just don't see it. We're like, oh, we eat a pound of dirt while we live, because we need it a little bit. We need a little bit of that stuff. We do eat sunlight every time we eat something from the ground. And every time we eat an animal that eats something from the ground. And every time that we spiritually touch something that is from a spiritual being, which is always, so every time we touch something, we're getting some kind of energy. And we don't understand it, but I'm trying to explain it, and I'm seriously, I got to start reading some really deep books. But I know that when I read them, I'll remember writing them in a weird way, but I'm trying to process, like, God's way of how he meant to portray it through those people. And sometimes I'm sure it's going to be right. And I know it's right. I mean, I'm in my gut, I know that, but I haven't focused on any of those things like hard enough with my human mind, because, man, I don't have any time. I've been working and working and working. That's what I do. And while I'm working, I'm doing all this stuff. I'm freaking out, man. I can't sleep. I can't eat right. But, I mean, it's worth it, because this is something we all need to know, and something we're all going to eventually be able to experience. And that's something I don't think anybody ever thought would actually be possible. Did you ever think it would actually be possible? And now I can't say that I don't believe in the most amazing miracles, because even if it doesn't happen in our physical existence, which I don't care, if something didn't happen in my physical existence right here in our human world, but I could close my eyes, which I can close my eyes and imagine flying so well that I can fly. I feel like I can fly. So, but if I can't do it in my human world, no one else can see it, so I can't prove it. And they're like, oh yeah, well, I can imagine flying. But no, I can fly. But in my mind I can fly so well, I can feel it and sense it. Like, I put my windows down and I feel the wind blowing, and I'll close my eyes a little bit, feel the wind blowing on me and my hair moving. Man, I'm flying. I can fly, and I could picture flying for like a decade, or for as long as I mean, it doesn't matter how long I try to focus on it. I mean, if I'm not sort of tapped into that ultimate unconditional love vibration, and I'm driving around, I mean, I don't do it for very long, but I can immediately feel it. It's just like remembering being a bird. I mean, it's sort of just weird and crazy and so hard to explain, guys. Anyway, I don't mean to keep getting so excited about it, but it's just God. It's just, I don't know. It's just God. Yeah, that's basically what it is. It's just God. It's pretty crazy. It's awesome. But I love you. I know I've said this before, but I gotta go. And I love you. I love everything. I'm Dan God. I'm God Dan. I'm you, and I'm me, and it's sort of crazy when that somebody actually figured this out. Anyway, I do have to go.